Yo, it's your boy Scoob. Hey, we're doing a podcast today, and this podcast channel is called Living Life in Today's Society, and I like to call it that because it gives us the opportunity to talk about multiple different topics. This topic is going to be called over why going to church is so important, and I think that is a good thing to talk about. First, before I start though, we got a guest speaker. I got my guy Jalen.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, bro? How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm super thrilled to be here. Super thrilled for the opportunity. I mean, when you asked me to be on the podcast, I think I've never done this before. I think I was a little almost puzzled because I was like, man, me? I don't know that I'm your guy. But I will say this: it's an honor to be asked and to be asked by you. You're such a light to everyone that you're around, and we've only known each other for a short amount of time. But every time that we've talked, I've been super encouraged and been just absolutely wowed by your radical enthusiasm and optimism. I'm super passionate about all things God's kingdom. So I'm excited to just have a great conversation with you.
Thank you, bro. If y'all don't know Jalen, he goes to YA with me, and he says I'm a great guy. But this man, he's introducing himself to everybody that walks in the door. Listen, he's a light. Listen, everybody's going to know his face because he brings that energy, bro. And he's super cool.
I like to say I'm just addicted to people. It's a bad, really good addiction, right?
That's good. I mean, one of the things that the word says is like to love others. Love God and love others.
100%.
And so that's one of the, and just when. And people gonna feel whenever you have that real authentic love.
1000%.
They're going to feel it, like 100%.
They're gonna know.
You can't fake that.
You can't fake it. I mean, an authenticity. I know for like people like yourself that are very authentic and very transparent, because of that, it allows you a gauge to see on who's reciprocating that.
Yeah.
You can pick that up really quickly on who's being authentic, who's not. And it's a gift and a curse because there's a lot of people that you wish were being authentic, but deep down they just aren't.
Especially in this generation, you got a lot of teenagers and, ones that are getting older as well, they're going to call you out on that,
100%.
like this, there's, and that's, that's real. Like you just know. And,
Yeah.
Over this topic, about church, you have a lot of people who go through different things. Like, you have people who go through church hurt. You have some people who were a Christian but turn into an atheist, and kind of, separate themselves. And
Yeah.
I think the crazy thing that I like to think about sometimes is living this life. We have to believe in someone we've never seen. The Bible says without faith it is impossible. So I'm living my life with the possibility of living up to 100 years old, having faith. There's a lot of different distractions in this world that can try to take us away. You'll have the enemy try to lie into our ear. Sometimes he will use people to try to, persuade us, to maybe go do drugs or go party or, there's so many different ways and so many different aspects and so many different things that can turn us away from the word of God. And so our whole life, we have to decide, okay, why do I even believe, or why am I doing this? Or, is this even meant to be? Or maybe I want to go have fun, or I want to go do this and that. And you have people in the music industry and stuff like that, when you think about, okay, now they're persuaded by money, I was following God, but God wasn't working fast enough for me. He wasn't giving me the type of money that I needed to need. And this is financial freedom for me. Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to sell my soul to something else, and I'm going to go start serving it. And there's so many different ways and so many different distractions. And that's the crazy thing about life, and that's why I think that church is so important. Before we even get into the questions, it's just with the community around 100%. You, it's so easy that whenever you find yourself, lost, or you find yourself falling down, when you fall down, you can't pick yourself up, but you can have somebody else pick yourself up.
It's so good. I mean, you're exactly right. Like, the way that the world is going right now, and just the vast majority of people our age, or even those older, even those younger. I mean, just about everybody seems to be finding any excuse that they can to not pursue the Lord. And it's not because they want to. It's more out of maybe our generation is obsessed with instant gratification.
Yeah.
How can I have it now? Why do I have to wait? And the Bible and the kingdom of God it's an upside down kingdom. It's the exact opposite of that. You want it now, God's got to make you wait for it. And that's the big problem. That's the issue that a lot of young believers like ourselves run into. And that is, well, I want it now, and why can't I have it now? I thought that I'm supposed to have everything that I wanted, and if God can't give me this, I'm gonna go get it myself, whether that's money, whether that's fame. The problem is those things can't fulfill you, and church is a great reminder of these things.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my cousin, shout out Micah Gardner, about this topic, about why church is important. And we just had such a great conversation, just because if you don't go to church, how would you remember the things like this? Like, hey, how would you be encouraged? How would you iron sharpen iron, right? Like,
that's real.
How would that happen if you were not actively and consistently going to church? And so I think it's so important that people don't just say they go to church, whether that's like online. That's like a rave, right? Like, that's like the new thing post-COVID. It's like, yeah, I go to church in my pajamas. You know what I mean?
Like not really taking the energy really to get out there.
No, it's like, I'll go to church in my living room, bro. Like, okay, I'm proud of you for watching the sermon.
Right.
But there's something so powerful about physically going to church, right?
That fellowship. I mean, you can't put on a fake face. And I think there's a misconception about church sometimes, like even, like just thinking about that, right? It's where like, oh, like church is so full of fake people, there's so much,
which there is,
there is, right? But at the same time, you have to look at it like, church is meant to be like a hospital, like for the broken. It's not, like, oh, like all the perfect people go to church and all the imperfect people stay outside the church. Yeah. If you're broken, like you should find yourself inside the church, but at the same time, you should have people, hey man, look, Jalen, I'm struggling with this, like, and it's been a rough week. Like I keep falling into sin, and I need maybe an accountability partner, or what would you do if you was in a situation like, how can I get out of this problem? And I think that's one of the hardest things. I remember this little thing somebody told me, this little story somebody told me, and it was there's this girl, like she walked up to the pastor and she was like, hey, like I think I'm finna stop coming to church because there's so many fake people in here. And he was like, okay, but before you leave the church, can you do me one thing? And she said, yeah, what's that? Said, I want you to fill this cup up to the brim, and then I want you to walk around the church one time and try not to spill a drop. And so, she holds that cup and she's walking as slowly as she can, like making sure she's focused on that cup. She's making sure she's not spilling a drop, and she finally finishes, like nothing spilled. And she walked up to the pastor and she said, I'm done. And she said, can I leave now? He said, yeah, okay, but answer me one question. And she said, what's that? He said, what did you focus on that whole time that you were walking around with that cup? And she said, I was trying to focus on this cup, making sure I didn't spill a drop. He said, that's how it should be in the church. Like we go to church and we so focused on, like this person over here, that person over there, like we really need to be focused on God, building our connection with God, and allowing our relationship to get better, and not talking down or condemning somebody whenever they mess up, but at the same time, like we should be building each other up.
1000%.
Because if you live your life and you commit one sin, how can you judge somebody else?
It's so funny, Billy. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you good.
Billy Graham, just an absolute G when it comes to the kingdom. I love Billy Graham. Billy Graham said, people say, oh, I want to find that perfect church. One, if you can find a perfect church, give me a call.
Yeah.
Two, when you find that perfect church, you better not join, because then it will be imperfect, because we are imperfect.
That's good.
Right? It's like, you people, I mean, listen, and I've been quote unquote hurt by the church. I think everybody has some sort of story that they could say, well, the church hurt me. The church did not hurt you. The people in the church hurt you, and people are people, and hurt people hurt people.
That's real.
Break it down to the seed. Don't throw this all in one category and put it on the church. Put it on the person. And then not only that, I think so often when things like this happen, you forget about the character of God.
Come on.
You forget about the whole reason why you're going to church in the first place. Yes, the people are great and community is important and how you're treated is important, but so much more is learning every single week about your Father who loves you and who cares about you and who wants the best for you and is speaking life over you. I'm an absolute, I guess you could say I'm a church addict too, because I probably spent about 6 out of 7 days there. And I love it. And I don't, it's not a pain.
Yeah.
My 9-to-5 job is I'm a broker and health insurance for commercial health insurance. And so when people ask me, dude, like, what are you doing after work? It's like, man, I'm going to church. Like, why? You know? Like,
yeah, that's real.
And I'm just like, well, because I think it's important. I think that every time I go, one, I don't believe that there's such thing as too much church. You know? I think it's you can go in there are seasons, right?
Right.
Where it's like, all right, I'm gonna take a season of stepping back, and maybe I need some more time. But I look at it this way. It's kind of like that cup analogy that you had. I view it as if you were to grab a cup, let's say for our purposes, Quick Trip.
Okay.
You can find one on every corner. And you put a cup underneath a fountain drink, whether that's Powerade, lemonade, whatever. You put it under and you just leave it under there and you fill it up, and it's just constantly being filled up. Eventually, that cup's going to get so full, it's then going to overflow and pour out. So the more that I sit under the fountain being poured into, the more I can pour out.
That's so good.
You can't pour out unless you're being poured into.
And even to piggyback on that, you know, I remember being told that I used to go to church too much, right?
Crazy.
And so, like, I know that's
crazy.
And I think to try to unwrap that perspective, I think, you know, actually, I'm gonna touch on that a little bit after I, you know, like cover this one point, you know, like that I want to say. And I think, you know, like trying to, you know, like judge other people inside the church, you know, like allowing your cup to be full, you know, like the analogy you just used.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm working on my relationship and I'm focused on myself and I'm drawing closer to the Lord, I'm not worried about condemning or talking down on somebody else, because Jesus loved, so, you know, like Jesus loved, you know, like love people, you know, like love your neighbor, you know, like you turn the other cheek, you know, like, and then I think if we come to a perspective where we're not as close to the Lord, you know, like we start to, you know, like find faults in somebody else. But when I can draw myself close to the Lord and I can start, you know, like loving Him, then I receive something from Him that I know that I completely don't deserve, no matter how much I work for it.
Very good.
I want to share that same thing with somebody else, you know, like, or I know, like, putting myself, you know, like, let's say, you know, like I got to go through certain struggles and stuff like that. Now, because I know that I don't deserve it, I want to pour that love into somebody else. I don't want to see somebody hurting, you know, like, we make mistakes, and I think sometimes we can only comprehend, you know, like some of the things that we go through in life where at first, in the beginning, we can only comprehend, you know, like some of the things that we go through in life. And so it's just like when we make a mistake sometimes, you know, like you think of the prodigal child, and he, you know, like spent his whole inheritance, you know, like he out there sleeping with the pigs, you know, like it was like, you know what?
Trifling.
If I trifling.
Like what?
But you know, like you think about it, right? And so it's just like, well, you know what? Sleeping with these pigs ain't fun. You know, like if I go home, I can at least, you know, like be like one of the people that work for my father, you know, like I can be like one of the servants, you know, like, and at least that has to at least be better than sleeping with the pigs, you know, like. And so we think of that story, you know, like when he goes home and his father is waiting on him, and you know his father had to be waiting on him because he sees him halfway down the, you know, and he runs and takes off to him, you know, like, and so we think of it like that, where it's like, I know everything that I have in this life, I don't deserve
it's all grace.
And so it is.
It's all grace.
And so thinking about it, it's just like,
it's a new perspective. And dude, even as today I was talking to the Lord, and I just kind of had a revelation of, you know, it's a pretty simple philosophy, and I'm pretty sure I probably should have had this by now, but I was thinking, you know, the more I attach myself to Jesus, the more I learn to see things as Jesus, the more I learn to hear things as Jesus, and the more I get to love others like Jesus. It's only until you attach yourself and spend time at church, spend time with the Lord, and you can do all these things. I mean, honestly, the most powerful times for a lot of people, including myself, are the times in private. Whenever you're reading alone, and I get that. But when you're at church and you're doing that, like you said, when you're constantly chasing after Jesus, it's teaching your brain, it's rewiring it to see things and to love and just see things from his level. Like you think about Jesus' perspective, he would look at a dead person and say, no, he's just sleeping.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he's dead. No, Lord, he's dead. Like DEAD.
Like,
dead.
Lord, are you okay?
Gone.
Are you seeing that right?
Gone. Like, you know what I mean? And it's funny because that same philosophy, Jesus was thinking different. He saw things different. We as humans have to see things different. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of situations in our lives and the people around us in their lives where they say, Lord, this is dead. And the Lord's just going, no. That's just sleeping, dog. Like, that's just sleeping.
Yeah.
And you cannot see it, and you cannot feel it, and you cannot hear it unless you're close to the Lord.
And it's hard, I think even to cover one of those points really, like when you think about, like how the Lord says all sins are the same, like from an earthly perspective, you look at it, you're like, all sins are the same. I only stole a bag of Skittles.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
this
ain't.
person, like,
Murder.
killed somebody or something, you know? Like, how is my sin close enough and the same to his, right? And so, if you look at it on a deeper level, I believe our purpose for coming to earth is to be able to, gather more people, because, some people, it might be easy to have that faith and believe.
Yeah.
And some people, it might be a lot harder to be able to have that faith and believe, right? So coming from that perspective, if I'm supposed to come down here and I know this is not my home and I'm here to recruit, and I'm here to love like Jesus, be an example, and bring more people home whenever we die, to live into eternity.
Yeah.
Well, if I do something bad, whatever I do down, I'm not, okay, hold on, let me be careful with my words. Let me not say that whatever I do down here doesn't matter, because it does matter.
Yeah.
But all sins are the same. I look at that, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, we can all be forgiven because we all don't deserve to be forgiven. But my purpose is to be able to bring somebody to Christ, allow them to grow their faith, and allow them to be closer to God, to where they can be an example to somebody else, right? Where it's like, I can't control what happens, whenever, that person ends up dying. I got this train of thought. It's in my head, right? And I'm trying to, hold on. So it's like this, right? It's like, okay, I do something bad, and I mess up, and I sin, but at the same time, I have to be focused on myself rather than judging somebody else, because at the end of the day, there's only one judge, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm worried about somebody else and I'm worried about what they're doing and, their mistakes and stuff like that, I'm not allowing myself to be an impact, and I'm not allowing myself to grow, and I'm not allowing myself to draw closer to God. And so if I'm not allowing myself to be where I need to be, there might be somebody, next to me that I could have impacted, and I could have made a big difference in their life. But now, because I'm judging this person over here, they're going to sit there and judge with me, because, the Bible talks about not causing other people to stumble. Mm-hmm. And we can cause people to stumble based off our actions, right? Yeah. And so, how can I judge somebody else, if I'm not perfect, right? And so, hold on, look, let's get into a question real quick. Let's get into
we hopped in, we jumped right in.
Because it's like when you go to church, you start, when you receive so much, you just want to talk about what 100%. You receive, and it just makes you happy, to want to talk about the Lord. I remember when I was little, I used to say, you know what, I'm not going to serve God until, I want to party right now, and turn up.
We've all been through that.
When I get older, then I'm going to start serving,
I'm old, you know what I mean?
Exactly, but I didn't realize what I was missing out on, until I jumped in. It's
True
so
life.
good. It's so good.
It is good. I'm a certified yapper. So.
It's so, hey, listen, me and you both, I'm telling you. So, the first question, and we might have covered some of these, just by
we probably
talking,
did, but we can talk about it.
But is it necessary to go to church in order to get into heaven?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Is it necessary to go to church and in order to go to heaven? The answer to that is no. It is not necessary. You can go to heaven and not go to church. The Bible's clear on how to get to heaven. We try to overcomplicate this, which is do I need to do everything right? That's when it quickly can turn into religion, and you have to be careful. But If your heart knows the Lord and you've accepted Jesus and confessed with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, He came down to serve, He lived a perfect life, He died on the cross for our sins, He was buried for 3 days and rose again, and now sits at the right hand of the Father on our behalf, and because of Him we have eternal life, then you will get into heaven. Not based on how often you go to church.
Yeah.
But you are missing out on the life that God has allowed us to experience while we're on earth. The Bible says that we are to have life and life more abundantly.
To the full.
To the fullest.
Come on.
You're missing out on the thing that God, and there's so many things that He wants you to see. And honestly, here's the deal. If you can't stand to be in church, you probably won't stand to be in heaven.
We worshiping for eternity.
Yes. Well, I mean, like, it's so funny, all the people that are like, no, bro, I love God, man. I love God. I love God.
Come on.
But, and that church stuff is not for me, man. It's like, dude, I don't think you know the same God I do.
Yeah.
I don't think, I can't wait to go to heaven, but dude, man, when was the last time you've been to church? At Christmas? You know? Easter. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't think you're going to love heaven as much as you think you will, because everything that happens at a church will be happening up in heaven all the time. And if you don't like to worship, but I got bad news, you know, like, we're going to be worshiping
Some people
forever.
just really kind of want that benefit, you know, like what they feel they can receive from the Lord. But
Sure.
I mean, it's like having a relationship with a friend where it's just like, when you enjoy, you hang out with who you love to spend time with, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if I don't like you as much, I'm not finna take all my time to spend time with you. You know, like, we're not finna chill, you know, like, I might, what's up, bro, you know, and keep it pushing, you know, like, but I'm not finna.
And if you do that, then, bro, man, you must hate him.
you can't love him that much, right?
Yeah.
But when you take that time really to just, you know, like, get into his presence, or even, you know, like, over time, it's just like, dang, I haven't prayed in a while. I really missed that.
Yeah.
Lord, let me apologize. You know, like, let me stop it. You know, like, but I think that it's important. You know, like, so whenever it says, you know, like, do you have to go to church in order to get to heaven? Your life is going to be a lot harder if you don't, right? Like,
1000%.
you'll deal with so many struggles and so many issues, and you'll try to find the answer somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because the Lord will try to teach me, hey, Scuba, I need you to go over here. Wait, Lord, I'm old and mature. Like, I know what hold on, let me do this first, and then I'm gonna come to you.
Sure.
And we use the Lord as a last resort. And I think that's so dangerous because it comes to a point where it's like, it could have been so much easier, you know, like, and even when we struggle, you know, like, it's like, for the Lord that, you know, like, God created, you know, like, heaven and earth, you know, like, in 6 days, and then rested on the 7th day. He knows every hair on my head, and I think that I'm smart enough to be able to go handle this situation on my own. Like, hold on, God, like, let me. Who do I think I am, bro? You know, like,
it's twisted fast.
And so it's just like, a lot of people go through different things. Like, you might go through depression, or you might, you know, like, anxiety, or you might go through certain situations, you know, like, and when you allow yourself to go through those situations alone, you know, like, it's hard. How can you get yourself out of that dark hole if you don't have somebody else to be able to help you?
100%.
And so when you have church, you have a community.
Yeah.
And you don't have to talk about, you don't have to talk to everybody in the church, but get you your people that you can talk to, you know, like an accountability partner. An accountability partner does not mean that I'm going to put all my burdens on you, you know, like, you need to make sure that I'm doing this, and if I'm not doing this, that's your fault because you didn't check on me.
Yeah.
That's not what an accountability partner means, but it's just like, you have who are you doing life with? Because who you surround yourself with is who you're going to be more like.
Yeah.
I always say, like, if I'm broke and I'm hanging around with a bunch of millionaires, eventually I'm finna learn from one of them how to get. I'm not finna be broke because they're elevating me. You know, like I always say, you know, like, you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. You know?
100%.
Because I need to be learning something from somebody else. You know, like, and so at the end of the day, it's just like, church is good because it has a community around you that can help you grow and it can help you build. And you think that, you know, like, oh, like, I want to, you know, like, but I'm trying to go party this weekend, or I'm trying to go do this and do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
who's going to tell you that that's a bad idea?
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, who do you have around you? Like what you just said. Like, losers hang around losers.
That's real.
You know?
The best way to put it.
That's crass, I know, but like, you, who is it? Pastor Craig Groeschel says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Real.
Like, if you're hanging around losers, you are in fact the loser with them. You're not. It isn't like, oh, we're losers, and then there's that one. No. Like you're with them, and that is, it's a hard truth that a lot of people go, well, no. Like, you don't understand. I'm the good influence, and I've been this person. I'm the good influence in my group of friends. Really? How many times out of, like, if we ratio this, like how many wins do we get? I guarantee you have a bigger win ratio if you're hanging around godly people that will tell you you're not the smartest person in the room, that will say, hey, you want to go party this weekend? I don't think that's a wise idea. Can I tell you why? I don't think we did that anymore. Like, I thought we were gonna be at church, and I thought we were gonna, like, move in a different way. Yeah, but one time is good, right? No, like, who's gonna tell you that? Because if it's just you in your own mind, you're not gonna tell. You're gonna tell yourself that you are the smartest person in the room. Yeah. Your ideas are the best. Paul in 1 Corinthians talks about how man, someone's gonna listen to this and be an absolute Bible nerd.
It's always that one, because I do that too.
But he talks about in 1 Corinthians, he says something along the lines of that the gift of prophecy is bigger and more beneficial to other believers than the gift of speaking in tongues. The gift of speaking in tongues, no one can interpret other than you. Well, they have interpreters. That's a different conversation. But you speaking in tongues is your own language to you and God. But you prophesying is you hearing something that God told you to tell someone else.
Come on.
And that can only be done as if you have community. What you finna do? Talk to the wall about that? You know what I mean? Like, you have to have another human body that the Lord is saying, hey, I want you to go tell them this, and it's on my behalf. And I think that's why it's so. I think that's why it's so important.
And that's so real, because every day is not going to be an easy day. Some days are going to be harder than others, and knowing that some days are harder than others, like, you need somebody to help put you back on the right track. Like, or sometimes, like the encouragement, like Jayla gave me in the beginning. Like, I might have days where I'm just like, man, I kind of messed up, and I give up a list of things, like where I messed up, but it's like, no, like, we good, we all make mistakes. Remember that day when you did this, and remember that person that was lost, and you kind of helped lead them into the right direction, like, not physically, but, like, mentally, maybe even spiritually, like, and it's just like, some days is going to be hard, like, but if you really, listen, hold on, like, if you really love the Lord, like, you start, because that's what we're going to do for eternity. If you can't worship down here, if you think you
do
can
it up
worship
there. No, he knows it too, and that's funny. It's funny the Lord doesn't say, whenever talking about him not letting you into heaven, you think of that moment standing before him. It's funny how he doesn't say, depart from me, you didn't go to church enough, or depart from me, you didn't read your Bible enough. Depart from me, you weren't perfect enough. He says, depart from me, you never knew me, and I never knew you. He's talking about a relationship. Like, he wants a relationship with you, and if you don't have a relationship with him, it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, and he knows that, because God is so gracious that he doesn't want to. It's, oh man, this is the part that is just like, it could get me emotional thinking about how good God is, because God is doing it on your behalf. If you didn't want to spend time with him on earth, then he knows you're not gonna want to spend time with him in heaven. So you wanted this. Go. Like, you don't want to spend time with me, I'm not going to force you to do that, so I'm going to send you somewhere else. Now, the flip of that is people go, well, how could a gracious God send someone to hell, like, in suffering? You wanted it. You asked for it. He's giving you your wish. It's like the careful what you wish for kind of. It's the kind of mentality of, like, the Lord is giving you what you want. And if you love spending time with him, if you love worshiping him, he's going to give you that opportunity. Hey, bro, you like doing that? Guess what? We're going to do this forever. You know what I mean? Like, this is cool.
One of the things I heard as well, like, even to go off that is, I don't know what hell's like, but I heard one of the worst parts is...
It's like 169 during rush hour. That's hell. I'll tell you that.
I bet. No, that's real. Well, they were saying that the worst part about not making it into heaven is, like, going to hell or whatever, is like the fact that you didn't take the time to, like build a relationship with God, like, and now that you're, like you've died, like from your earthly life.
Yeah.
God is real. He gave you free will. He gave you the opportunity, and now you have to spend eternity away from him. And so it's just like, that's crazy to think about, like, so like I said, like I don't completely know what hell is like, but to think that I have to live eternity, if I think this life is long,
dude,
and I'm gonna live eternity away from the one who only wanted to love me, who told me to come as I am, who died for my sins. I didn't find him, he found me, like, and we, like I found the Lord. No, you did. Listen, he chased you. Revelation says, I stand at the door and knock. Like, the Lord is a gentleman.
He is,
like, he gives us free will, and he gives us the opportunity, like, he's not listening. Hey, come, don't do that. I'm trying to say, man.
Sure.
And, we mess up like 50 million times, right? And we're like, okay, Lord, I'm sorry. I messed up.
100%. It's the kid touching. Don't touch that hot plate. Don't touch that hot plate. You touched the hot plate. Now you're crying. Okay, so now we gotta go through this, and I have to. Hey, we don't touch hot things because of this. I'm sorry. I should have listened. It's the same thing, man. If you've ever had to love someone who constantly kicks you in the shin, it'll teach you a lot about God's love for you. Who says it? Someone says we don't forgive because we don't forgive. Oh gosh, where's my phone?
I want to hear this one.
Oh, it's such a good quote. We don't forgive by just trying to forgive. We forgive by focusing on how much we've been forgiven. Bar.
That is so. Hey, bar. Read that one more time for people who was distracted, because they might have.
Bar. We don't forgive by just trying to forgive. We forgive by focusing on how much we've been forgiven. It is the definition of my favorite verse of all time, which is 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. Love is patient. Love is kind. Let's talk about that. Everybody takes that and kind of runs with it. You hear it at weddings. You hear it on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But we can only love because we were loved first, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way that's possible. We are mimicking and mirroring what has been already given to us. If that didn't happen, then we don't love, right? I only love because I was loved first. I only forgive because I was forgiven of much, and was not perfect. And so whenever you're dealing with someone, and we're kind of getting into a new topic, but when you're dealing with someone, or you're learning to love like the Lord loves, a lot of times it's gonna feel like someone's just constantly just like stabbing you. What I mean? It's like, dude, you're like, and I think, and what's funny too is I'll be just going, man, like, it'll be like certain people, or man, I've always thought, am I being a doormat,
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, how many times do I do this to the Lord? Where the Lord's like, hey, you want to spend time with me? And I'm like, nah, not really.
I'll get back to you later.
Yeah, I'll get back to you later. I know you'll be there, so I'll get back to you.
That's
later.
real. Right? That's so bad. That's such a bad...
It's awful. And it breaks my heart because, like, I think about my mom, like, my mom, or you ever had a moment whenever your mom would say, hey, like, before you go to sleep, can you do the dishes? And you're like, yeah, I got it. And then you're in your room playing video games. Not even my mom, my dad's probably a better example. Like, this would happen, and my dad, hey, before you go to sleep, hey, do me a favor. You go knock out those dishes. Yeah, Dad, I got you. Just before you go to sleep. No, you don't have to do it now. But just before you go to sleep. Yeah, I got it. And then I'd fall asleep playing the game or something. I'd wake up, like, I forgot to do dishes. And you run to the kitchen, and the dishes have already been done, and your dad did it for you. That's the most heartbreaking thing. Or like, he's like, hey, you want to come watch this movie with me? Like, you want to come hang out? Yeah, just a second. Like, I'm kind of hanging out with some friends. I'll come in there in a little bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, just, no rush, just want to spend time with you.
Yeah.
All right. You fall asleep. Oh my gosh, I didn't go in there. You walk back in, your dad's passed out on the couch. Movie's still playing. You're like, oh. I actually might be the worst person to ever exist.
It hurts.
Like, it ruins you. But man, how many times do we do that to the Lord?
Come on.
The guy who sent his one and only son to die for you and for me, though he knew we would be just absolute horrible people.
Knowing there's a chance that we might not even follow him back.
Oh, 100%. But he did it anyway. he did it anyway, and man, that breaks my heart. And there are often times where I don't do the best job at it, but there are times where I'm just like, man, I just want to like maybe watch a show that I should watch, or maybe I want to listen to some Drake and I really shouldn't. Not to offend all you Drake stands out there, but I will say there are times where the Lord's like, hey, why don't we listen to some worship? You know, like, we like spending time with me. We haven't talked all day. You want to talk? No, I'm good.
That's real. And it's so crazy, you know, like, because the Lord says He can give us more than what we can think of or imagine, you know, like, and even to think on that from that perspective, it's like, well, first off, He already died for us, you know, like, so waking up, you know, like, it's just a blessing, you know, like, in itself, right? But it's like, when you start to get to know Him and you start to draw closer to Him and you allow Him to be able, it's like, Lord, you've already given me so much. It gets to a point sometimes where it's like, Lord, you've blessed me so much, like, I don't even need a blessing right now. Like, I just want to be in your presence. 100%. I just want to be here. And He continues to still bless us. And it's so hard to like comprehend that sometimes, right? Because it's like, you bless me so much and you continue to stick. And, you know, like, people are like, oh, well, you know, like, if the Bible says that He can, you know, like, if I ask, I can receive, well, then I want $1 million, or I want this big house, or I want this fancy car, right? But when you start drawing closer to Him, you start to, you know, like, have a heart like His, you know, like, you start to want to be more like Him. And when you start to be more like Him and want more like Him, you realize there's lack of value in, you know, like, that car or that big house, or, you know, like, having the most money, or trying to win the approval of other people just to be satisfied to say, hey, well, look what I got, you know, like, now I'm not even, I don't even care about that no more. I want to share the love that He showed me. I want to give out, you know, like, I see somebody hurting over there, you know, like, let me go try to, I remember days whenever I didn't have nobody by my side. Let me go try to help that person, you know, like, oh, that person is, you know, like, let me lead them to something that can really benefit their life or really impact them. Because now, like, I care more about your feelings and your character and your personality rather than I do about the type of shoes that you have, or the type of clothes that you got, or the type of money that you got in your bank, you know, like, it's just like, I don't even, you know, like, now, because whenever I ask, I can receive, but I want what you want me to have. I don't even care about everything else, you know? And you start to learn more of that, you know, like, whenever you go to church, you know, like, and you surround yourself around the right people, you know, like, back to what we said before, you know, like, show me your friends. I'm going to show you your future, you know, like, what do you want your future to look like, you know, like, and I've, you know, like, I've been so comfortable with the Lord, you know, like, where it's at, you know, like, it's at the point where, like, I don't, like, my life is not my own, right? And when you get to a point where you realize your life is not your own, as in, like, I want to be a living sacrifice, because I get one opportunity to be a living sacrifice. Actually, every day is a new opportunity, but I get one life right now to be a living sacrifice. You died for me, so let me live for you. And I remember this one pastor said at church camp a while ago, she was like, I think if a shooter came in this building right now and said, raise your hand if you serve God, and I'm going to shoot you right now, everybody would raise their hand, because sometimes people can look at it as life is too hard, that you don't want to live for Christ. You'd rather die so you can end up, you know, like, being in heaven. And take the suffering away right now, because it's not worth suffering to try to help somebody else. Why would I suffer and put myself in a bad situation? And, you know, like, let me just end it and go to the finish line right now so I can be up in heaven and receive, you know, like, and so I want to be a living sacrifice to really show. The best thing that I could possibly imagine is going to heaven and hearing Him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Because I've lived my life to be able to do the best that I can do. Like, once I get saved, it's not about me no more. I know where I'm going. So because I know where I'm going, let me try, Lord, use me to be an impact. Use me to be a vessel. Use me to be an inspiration or a light or an impact to be able to go help somebody else. You know, like, there was time, like, you see me happy, you know, like, running around, you know, like, with this joy and stuff like that. But that's not me. That's the Lord working through me. That's because of the situations that He's put me through. You know, like, you read the Bible, you hear, like, a lot of people that went through a lot of different things and a lot of different struggles, you know, like, I mean, Job, like, I don't know if I could go through the situation but the Lord will never put us through something we can't handle.
If you did, He'd be there with you.
He would.
He'd be there with you. And you would not know God's grace, and you wouldn't know His mercy, and you wouldn't know His goodness. You wouldn't know the peace that transcends all understanding if you didn't go through hard things.
because I can't help somebody through a situation that I've never been through myself. Oh, you know, like your parents, you know, like they went through a divorce. I can tell you about that. I can't tell you if my parents have never split up. Now I can try to have sympathy for you, and I can try to be, but I can't talk about a struggle. I can't help lead somebody to Christ if I'm not there myself. You know, like if I'm spending all my time, you know, like condemning somebody for how bad they're doing, am I really, you know, like am I really close to God? You know, like do I really know Him? You know, like the Pharisees, you know, like in the Bible knew they knew the word to a T,
did they?
And didn't recognize Jesus when He came to their face. And I think that's what's so hard, you know, like in this generation is like religion and relationship, they can go hand to hand, but they're not the same thing. People get that confused. Sure, and it's like, why would I go to church? You know, like there's so many sinners in there and there's so many bad people and they're going to judge me. Respectfully, if you go into a church where everybody in that church is judging you based off how, you might not be going to the right place.
Go to a different one.
And that's not to talk down on those people in there, but you like, now, not to get a pass for every bad thing that you do, but to get grace and understanding, like it's okay. You know, like every day is a new opportunity. You know, like let's build together. You know, like where are you struggling at? Okay, let me help you. Let me show you what I would do if I was in that position. Not to say that I'm the person that knows it all, but I want to help you. I want to walk with you. I want to grow. I want to see you change. Not beat you down and talk down to you so bad that you don't even want to come to church no more. We shouldn't go, you know, like to have, you know, like, but I should be able to go, be open, be authentic, be real, you know, like, and say, man, I'm hurting. And I'm struggling. And the world has kind of beat me down. And I want to be an impact. But today, I can't be an impact today. You know, like today, I can't put on a smile today. You know, like I want to be here to be here. But I want to leave differently than the way I came. But I'm struggling, you know, like you can't get that love from the world, so I should be able to get that from the church.
The world will not love you back.
They will not, and you know, like we try, you know, like, but those are they're temporary happiness, you know, like
it'll fade.
It'll fade, you know, like it'll last for a little bit.
It really will. It really will last a little bit. And that's the funniest thing is like people are like, man, the world, it you know, some people lie and say, well, the world can't make you happy. It can for a little bit. It really can. But it'll fade. It'll fade, and you'll be back. And that's the thing. If you can realize that, the quicker you'll be obsessed with the things that God wants you to have and the life that God wants you to have, rather than all the things that you feel like you can't have. And I think that's important.
And when you think of it like that, okay, so if we reverse that, right, you know, like, you know how you go to church camp, you know, like, or whether you're a leadership, you know, like, or a student, you know, like, it's enjoyable, right? You know, like, you feel the presence of the Lord that you may not feel nowhere else, you know, like, or you might not even feel it the rest of the year. You might feel it, you know, like, here and there every once in a while. But I remember hearing the question, or, you know, like, somebody talking about it or whatever, you know, like, based off, you know, like, why can't we have this, you know, like, you want heaven, you know, like, you're supposed to give us heaven on earth. Why can't we have this, you know, like 25/8? Like, why can't we have this every single 25/8, you know, over 24/7 if y'all didn't get that, you know?
You know how many people, and I say 25/8, they're like, I don't understand.
Like, do you not know math? No, it's consistently, you know, like
it's showing the dramatic effect on 24/7. I think it needs to be talked about.
I think it, you know.
I was with you on 25/8. I just thought you should.
But, you know, like, you think of that, right? You know, like, in the presence of the Lord is so good, you know, like, you're overwhelmed, and like the last day of church camp is coming, and you're like, man, like I don't want to go home. Can I take this with me? And I think that's a type of spiritual high that I would love to have, right? And I would love to take with me. And because I've experienced it, now, you know, like, now I'm seeking to go back and just enjoy the Lord's presence. And it's like, I remember hearing the reason why we don't have that, because if we had that, you know, like consistently, why would we go seek His presence? You know, like, why would we go seek His voice? You know, like, why would we go look for that if I get that, you know, like, all the time? You know, like, I mean, they say, you know, like, the teacher is silent during the test. You know, like, so it's just like, that's the type of spiritual high that I would love.
The teacher's silent during the test? I've never heard that. That's tough.
You know, like, no, but it's just like,
that's really good.
When you go to church and you can experience certain things, but in order to be able to know anything, you know, that the Lord has to offer, you have to take that leap of faith. And that's why it's called a leap of faith, because it's hard. You know, like, in the word says to walk by faith and not by sight. And to even like grasp the idea of that, it's like putting a blindfold on and walking into a mansion and trying to find your way around the house that you've never been in before. This house is big, you blindfolded, and you need to go to sleep, you trying to go get something to eat, you got to go to the bathroom, and sometimes it might be so frustrating that you're like, you know what, bro, like I'm not even finna walk, I'm just finna sit in this spot, because I keep stubbing my toe, I keep running over, I can't find my way. We're staying right here, just give me a bucket, and give me like a plate. I'm sitting right here because I don't want to move no more, and that's like life, have a leap of, when we have faith, it says if we have faith the size of a mustard seed, we can move mountains, in order for us to be able to grow our faith, we have to go through situations. My faith can't grow if the Lord is giving me every single thing that I need right now. Like, Lord, I need this. Oh, thank you. I'm good. I'll come back to you whenever I need you. I'm going to go over here. Exactly.
Pastor Greg, my favorite person on the planet.
Love that guy.
Love Pastor Greg. Pastor Greg Scott, a pastor and executive at Church on the Move, and at one point was Pastor Willie George's right-hand man. So he is just a plethora of knowledge and wisdom. And he once said, I have a note on my phone. Me and him are really close. I'd honestly consider him as like one of my best friends. And hopefully, I don't know if he'd say the same, honestly. But I consider him as one of my best friends. And we go golf a lot together, and we spend time together just as friends. But we tease each other a lot, and I have a notes app full of all his most notorious quotes. And
I need to see that.
Dude, it is comical. It'll make you laugh. He says just some of the funniest things, but one thing in particular that's really funny, but it's true, is he's on a rant at YA. He was on a rant about people, basically what you said, just saying asking God to be a vending machine. And he says, when did God become a vending machine for you where I press B6 and the donuts come out? Oh my gosh, man, I thought it was so funny. Probably one of my favorite quotes of all time to that wise Kentucky boy.
And that's how sometimes we look at it, we look at it like a genie. And when you think about it, God should really be our first resort that we go to, but he happens to be our last. And I think if our mentality is like that, then we don't really trust in him, or we don't really believe in him, and now our understanding is not in him, but it's in ourself, and it's no, I know I can handle this situation. No, I know I got this under control. No, I know I can do this. I'm going to come to you when I need you. But right now, I can do this. I can make this work. Hold on. You stay, don't leave because I'm going to need you. I know I'm going to need you. But just stay over there for a second and let me handle the situation. And then I'm going to come to you whenever I need something. And that's so dangerous. And, there are a lot of things that we can get reminded, whenever we spend time with, people in the church, and whenever we, stay inside the house and surround ourselves with the right people, because there are things that I can do that other people can't, and there are a lot of things that other people can do, that I'm not able to do. And sometimes going to church isn't really just about you. You can be an impact. It's not. We have to be an impact for other people. There may be somebody out there that really needs you, or needs your advice, or needs your encouragement. When you think of all the gifts, I can't even think of them all right now. But it's there's a I can't even think of them right now. It's 7 gifts of spiritual gifts. I'm trying to think of.
Is it in the Bible?
It's somewhere. See, it's so bad because I can't think of it right now, bro. No, so you know what? We're gonna get back to this. We're gonna get back to this. What I was trying to say was, so you have some people like Jalen, at YA, he stands at the door because he's great at greeting people, and bringing people in.
I'm an introvert's nightmare. Probably.
That's okay.
If you've been to YA, we've got this long ramp you got to walk down, and you see my tall, black, skinny self with another guy who's one of my best friends. His name is Brendan, and then another guy who's typically there. His name is Nate, and we are probably the worst part of an introvert's day.
You can't get through without seeing them.
There's one entrance and there's one exit, and you're gonna have to see me both times. And I'm
You're gonna have to see me.
And I'm gonna ask how your day was, but only because I think it matters. I think it matters. Don't get me on this rant, and I'm not gonna stay here. But man, hospitality,
it's real.
It's needed.
And you got some people who might even go to church and like walk past like 30 to 40 people and never get asked, hey, like, how you doing? Or even to go further than that, you have some people who only do surface level conversation, like, hey, how you doing? Good. How are you? Like, I'm good. Like, okay, cool. See you later. And so, no, like, how was your day? Like, genuinely, how were you?
Good?
Like, why was it? Well, okay, what's one thing that you're looking forward to this week? What's the biggest blessing that you received? Like, what's something hard that you're going through right now? Like, break those surface level conversations. And there are people in the church that are able to do that. Yeah. Maybe you're the person that's able to do that. You have people who are just you think of, like they say our body is the temple, right? And so like our body and the way it functions, like you have the hand that can't do what the feet does, and you have the feet that can't do what the eyes do, and you have the eyes that can't do what the, like, I don't know, like the mouth does, speaker, but there are different functions. And when we come together, like, okay, I lack at this, but this person is good at that,
together.
You have the pastor, who's able to preach and give a word, can make you feel good. But then you have the worship team who's able to, bring that music, and just kind of allow you to feel the presence of the Lord, whenever you're able to focus. And then you have the people that are after church, that you can just fellowship with and build bonds with. Because I'm not going to relate to everybody in the church. I can talk to everybody in the church, but there's so many different people.
You actually might relate. You always find some sort of common denominator.
I think I could, humbly, it's just, we all have different, like the Lord has called us for a purpose, and even to think deeper than that, we all have a gift, and some people's gift may be rapping. Some people's gift may be, working at a vet to encourage people every time they come in and out the door, everybody has a different gift, and it's dangerous whenever we have a gift and we don't share that and don't allow it to be an impact for somebody else. You don't have to be on the stage to be able to make a big impact in somebody's life. And when we think of all these, concepts, of why church is so important, there's so many different aspects. But, I think the most dangerous reason not to go to church is because you say that everybody in the church is a hypocrite. When you love God so much, you start drawing closer to God. Go in that church and be impacting on people's lives, and help be that light, be that seed, that can plant and that can water and be like, this person might do certain things that, I may not agree with, but I'm not trying to change this person, but let my life be a change to this person, and if that person is hanging, and not to put all that pressure on yourself to say, oh yeah, you're the chosen one, you're finna go in there and make that church, because that's not how it works. But when you draw closer to the Lord, nobody is better than anybody else.
That's right.
Because we've all fallen short of the grace of God.
That's
but
right.
He freely gives.
That's right.
So people go through church hurt, and that is real, and that's not to be ignored. But at the same time, Jesus was, he wasn't accepted in certain places. The Pharisees talked down on him, and they knew the, word to a T. And it's just it's we have to learn the difference between religion and relationship. And I think
my
it's
phone
important.
Was on. I'm so sorry.
Hey,
that name? What in the world? I was like, wait, was my phone not on silent this entire time?
No, you good, bro. You're good. And so, man, there's different aspects that we can think of, whenever it comes to, why is the church so important, and I mean.
What's the next question?
Let's see what the next question is. If I believe church is, actually, we kind of covered. We'll read that. Let's see what it says so we can break it down. If I believe church is full of hypocrites, why would I surrender myself with people like that when I can build my relationship with God alone?
Why would I fill my... you said, Jalen, scuba, show me your friends. My friends are hypocrites. So, I think it's I think it is in... Where is it? I probably have it written down somewhere. It could be, 1 Peter 4:10. Iron sharpens iron.
That's so real.
Iron sharpens iron, not sharp. And it's not iron sharp or sharpen iron. It's iron that sharpens other iron.
Right.
It's the friction. It's the tension. It's that the Lord knows nobody in this church is perfect.
Yeah.
But why is it that whenever we go to church, we become better? The more honest we are, the more open we are, the more we are to, help each other out.
Come on.
You get better. You truly get better. And it's honestly, if someone asked me that question, I'd probably laugh and be like, wow, it was a pretty good question. But I will say, going to church is not it's not an option, it's a command.
Yeah, that's real. That's
like
real.
Going to church, the Lord commands us to do that. And anything that He's commanded us to do, you may wonder, well, why? Well, He commanded you to do it. So you could spend a lot of time trying to figure out why, but I would just focus on being obedient. And in that obedience, you'll understand why.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think it's a really good question. I'm not gonna lie.
And even, I mean, when you think deeper, like, even Jesus walked around with 12 disciples, like, he never did it by himself.
Nope.
And so, like,
He could have.
if Jesus, did all these miracles and had a group of people walking with him, who am I to think that I can do it by myself?
Sure.
Or who am I to think that, I don't need no help? And at the same time, church isn't always just about, it's not always about you, feeling like, oh, I got enough God in my life right now, I can live my life, or I will live my life serving, but at the same time, there's never no level of where I've learned enough about God that I'm good and I don't need anything else, but at the same time, like, sometimes when you go to church, you might need to be there to be able to impact or help somebody else, or be a light to somebody else. But at the same time, you're not going to live your life every single day and be good and never have any struggles or never have any troubles or never have any moments where it's just like, dang, I'm struggling. Your life is, nobody's life is perfect. We're going to have ups and downs. But at the same time, when you start struggling, who are you looking to? Who are you looking for advice from?
Dog, we can be so self-centered, It's like, well, what can the church do for me? Or why should I surround myself with blah, 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 blah? We could just be so me, Jalen, Scuba, like, it could be all about us. And, what if, like you said, what if the church wasn't actually made for you? What if it was made for other people?
Yeah.
If everybody has that, everybody's pointing at the next person. If everybody's pointing, well, I'm here for you and you're here for me, and then everything checks out. Everything works out. But if everybody goes to church and it's like, well, what can you do for me? Nobody's serving anybody. Everybody's thinking inward. It doesn't work. And that's why church is important, because you're not going for just yourself. You're going for everyone else that needs. Man, I think about at Church on the Move Tulsa. There are greeters there that have been greeting for like 20 years. Been opening doors for 20 years.
That's good.
And every single Sunday, someone wakes up and goes, I don't want to go to church, but I know that whenever I see Bobby or Margaret,
Come on,
holding that front door and that bright, beautiful smile, it'll be worth it.
And I know it's going to be a good day.
And it's going to be a good time. And that's so needed. It's important. And that's what you do to make a difference, like to truly play your role in the body of Christ, like you said. I'm not much of a, you may say, I'm not much of a speaker. I don't really like to talk. Okay, great. I promise you, not a lot of speaking happens when you're handing out coffee. You know what I mean? Like,
that's real.
Like, I promise you, there's a way you can serve. Well, why should I? Because one, Pastor Witt talks about this too. Pastor Witt, the lead pastor of Church on the Move, and then he does all of his teaching at Church on the Move, Tulsa, the Tulsa campus. He talks about referring it to basketball. Are you a basketball guy?
I love basketball.
I know you have a Lakers.
I'm not a Lakers. See, okay, listen. I like this because of the way it looks, but I'm I'm a Westbrook fan.
Oh.
I'm a diehard Westbrook fan.
So you just follow him
wherever he goes. Listen, that's my guy. But see, this is the thing. When he was on OKC, like, I loved him there.
We all did.
And when he left, I was like,
heartbroken.
this team don't feel the same. I think,
No.
I didn't realize how much of a Westbrook fan I was until he left. You know, like once he left, which I used to always use him in 2K and stuff like that. You know, like
he was OP.
So you know, I was an OKC fan. And I'm like, oh, we got a team. Let's go. But when Westbrook left, I was like,
We suck.
I need to follow him. Like,
it's true. It's true. But hey, Thunder are gonna win the finals this year. I'm calling it. They got a great team. Anyway, Pastor Witt loves basketball, and he referred it to this. He was talking about your involvement in church and how many of believers spend the majority of their lives watching the game from the sideline. Watching a basketball game from the sideline. And you're just on the bench. You're just watching. And the Lord's saying, when do you want to go in? You're going, well, you know, after halftime for sure. Like, I'll stretch up. It'll be good. It cracks up. People say, hey, you should do this. I'll pray on it. Yeah, we know what that means. You're not doing it. But I will. But you're watching the game. It's time to check in the game. And people are intimidated because, man, when I go into the game, like almost like a basketball game, if I check into the game, someone's going to be defending me. Yeah. Someone's going to be, you know, like making sure I don't score. It's just easier to just kind of watch everybody else do that. I don't got to do that. Like someone else can do it. When you check into the game, not you have opportunities to score, so you get to see what God does, but also you're gonna feel opposition. You're gonna feel, man, am I getting a call? I'm sorry.
You're okay.
No, okay. I was getting a call. You're going to feel opposition. You're going to feel defense. But only in that can you see God's grace and His mercy and His love for you. And you can see Him do incredible things. Yeah. And use you in incredible ways. You may think, no, the Lord can't use me, you know, like in the same way Isaiah Thomas probably thought, the Lord can't, I mean, like, I can't be a good basketball player. I'm only like, what, 5'9", or like, I'm short.
He used to eat.
And he used to eat, you know? And that would have never happened if Isaiah Thomas doesn't check into the game. We would have never known. You know what I mean? Check into the game. That's another thing. You don't like going to church, get plugged in. Yeah. And see if that stays. Yeah. The best thing you can do is get, whatever you don't like, dive into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so opposite, but I think about school. Did you grow up right here?
So I grew up in Tulsa. I lived in Catoosa a little bit after that.
What high school did you go
to? Nathan Hale.
You went to Nathan Hale? Why do you laugh like that?
No, so Nathan Hale was just like, when I went, like, it was super ghetto, right? But it has, if you know a lot about Nathan Hale, it could have a bad reputation, you know, at the same time.
I didn't grow up in Tulsa, so I'm not familiar. I do know a little bit about Nathan Hale. I wouldn't say it's got a culture, you know.
We can at least say that much.
It's got culture, but I don't know anything about it. But anyway, it's unimportant. School, I don't know about you, but like we're pretty social. But I wasn't always like super duper involved in school. I would play sports, like I played baseball, I ran track, I played basketball. I wasn't involved by all these extracurricular activities. But I mean, like, holistically, like, I just kind of I ran my own lane, right? Yeah. But it wasn't until my junior year that I started realizing I need to, like, get plugged in. Like, I need to, like, why not? So I kind of ditched basketball. I was not always this tall, so it was just not. Yeah. And I went to a bigger school called Carl Albert in Oklahoma City. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start, like, getting plugged in and doing student council leadership. Okay. I became Mr. High School, which is just like, think about Troy Bolton, but just put it in a black man's body.
In the yearbook, I was class clown.
You were class clown. Oh my God. That doesn't surprise me, man. I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't surprise me. I was, I think I got most likely to have his own reality TV show. Oh. Which, if you follow my life with the camera, yeah, you'd probably get a good kick out of it, honestly. It's pretty comical. Okay. But anywho, I wasn't until that I started, like, really intentionally getting in the game, if you will. Yeah. That I started realizing I love school. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that I actually really like going to this place? I used to hate this mug, you know what I mean? Like, I used to despise it. You know, you get the Sunday scaries, you know what I mean? On Sunday nights, you'd hear that Sunday night football thing going off, and you just knew school was coming in the morning.
You know it's coming.
That dun 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 dun. I still get chills.
Gotta get ready to go to bed.
I know. My dad's about to look at me. Hey, start going ready.
Start getting. Oh,
that's like the worst. But it's when you get checked into the game that you start looking forward to it. I promise you, every single time that I get to go to church, and I'm there 6 out of 7 days, anytime I go, it is the highlight. I look forward to it. It's almost like I can't sleep the night before.
Bro, I relate.
Because we're involved. It's because when you're involved in the game, you want to play. You want to get better. You want to figure out what the Lord is doing. And it's so much better that way. That's why it's so pivotal that you not just go to church, but you be the church.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just so important. Man, I sounded like such a podcaster when I said
No, that's real. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like, okay, we go to church, like some people go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I started going away, I do kind of, like, I don't think it's 6 days, it's like either 4 or 5, like, pretty often,
Yeah.
But, when you think about it, like, it's like, okay, you got some people who go to church only on Sundays and Wednesdays, which is cool, but after they go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, they wait for the next day, like, where it's like you're in the world and you're living like the world, like, but then you're like, oh, I'm finna, like, go out here and I'm finna turn up, like, and not even like in a judging way, but it's just like one of the things my old pastor used to say was like, if I was married to somebody, like, and I only talk to them as much as I spend time with God on Sundays and Wednesdays, how much would I know that person, right? So, I mean, the only reason I bring that up is to say, like, okay, we're going to church and like we're supposed to be getting our cup filled. Yeah. Okay, but what do we do with that filled cup? Like, what about the people outside the church walls? Like, it doesn't stop. Like, in church isn't supposed to be like our main destination. Like, oh, like I made it to church and like I sat through work, like worship and I listened to the preaching. I did all the things that I need to do. Now I'm finna go chill. No, like, I'm supposed to get my cup filled and then go be an impact to the people who don't go to church, who don't know about God or who don't have a relationship, like, instead of, like, I shouldn't have to walk around and be like, hey, did y'all know, like, I'm a Christian?
Yeah.
My life should resemble that I'm a Christian, like, for the people, like, one of the phrases that I heard was, like, you may be the only God that somebody sees, as in not to hold yourself to a high level as a God, but like they may not know Christ,
image bearers. Yeah, we're to be image bearers, and it's so important that everywhere you go, man. I will wrap myself out. There was one time, this was a while ago, but someone had said like, oh man, I don't know what it was. Someone had said like, I think it was at like, this has been in high school. Someone had said, or maybe this would have been high school. I think this would have been like not that long. Someone said something along the lines of like, "Oh my gosh, like you know Jesus?" Because I think I had said something, and I go, "Yeah, I do know Jesus." They're like, "Man, I would have never thought." It's like, "Oh,
that's correct."
Right? Like, dang. Okay. But it was such an eye opener for me. I've gotten better since then. But I remember thinking, wow, that's really bad.
Yeah.
It should be like, you can't have a conversation without mentioning Jesus, you know, like, and I heard someone was asking about dating advice. Someone had asked me like, well, how do you know if someone like is someone worth, because I'm at 180 on Wednesdays, and so I talked to a bunch of high school students, and someone had asked like, well, how do you know if someone is like worth dating? And I said, you could probably tell in the first couple sentences. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, notice how if they talk about God, it should just happen.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's a practical, like, given the context, I know it sounds impractical, but talk to someone who really loves God.
It's real.
And it happens all the time.
It's real.
Talk to someone who doesn't really know the Lord, you'll never hear it.